Leo was an isolated boar child, who was betrayed by humanity for being the strongest overpowered hero, and reincarnated by God as a demon lord to destroy the entire world. And at the end of the war between the Demon King and the 6 heroes, which was in the era of the Holly God, it was the age of legends when gods and spirits and magicians ruled the world, we meet the demon lord, Leonis Magnus. He receives a report that the other demon lords have already fallen, and that the 6 great heroes are approaching to defeat him. We see his army of undead fighting against the humans, but there's a giant tree that grows, and one of the heroes rides on top. She fires her arrow, which splits and rains light down onto the battlefield, reviving the fallen soldiers. A dragon appears for the humans and it starts sieging the castle. The humans continue to get closer and the giant tree starts attacking with its roots. Leonis prepares to go out and face them, but his subordinate reminds him of the promise he made to the goddess of darkness, so it's not yet time for him to die. Leonis puts his staff away, and we see his castle being destroyed. He accepts defeat, but declares that as the undead king, he will rise again after 1,000 years and reclaim his throne. We cut to some time later, as we see 2 girls entering a ruin. We learn that the ruin was uncovered by an earthquake, and they are investigating it to see if it contains a void nest. We meet Celia and her maid Regina, as they head deeper into the ruin. Regina wonders if it will really find any void, but Celia reminds her that the void is creatures that like to nest in deep underground ruins. We see them using a counter to help detect the presence of the void, and they come across some strange statues. They think that the room could be some kind of important Tim, but they continue to explore. Their counter spikes as they approach a door, but it seems to be magically sealed. Celia examines the inscription, but she struggles to understand what it says. Regina thinks she will take a while to decipher it, so she decides to explore on her own. Celia keeps on examining the text, but when she touches it, the door suddenly opens for her. The room lights up, and a giant crystal is revealed on the other side. Celia's counter goes wild, and it even ends up breaking. She gets a closer look at the crystal, and she realizes that there's someone inside. We cut back to the past, when Leonis finds the goddess of darkness, Rosalia. She reminds him of their promise, that in 1,000 years' time, a human who can be a vessel for her power will appear, and it's his duty to find them. Leonis begs her to stay with him, but she just flies away. We see Celia trying to destroy the crystal, but her weapon seems to have no effect. Leonis is awakened by the disturbance, and he wonders how she entered the room, because it should be sealed by magic. He wonders if 1,000 years has passed, and uses a spell that allows him to understand Celia. He thinks she is some kind of grave robber, so he prepares to punish her. And his crystal suddenly shatters, blowing her away. He approaches to punish her, but Celia is suddenly confused by what a child is doing there. Leonis sees his reflection and he is shocked to see he's just a child. He wonders if his reincarnation ritual failed, and it seems he has returned to his younger self, back when he used to be a hero. Celia wonders what he was doing in the crystal, and she immediately checks to see if he's okay. Leonis gets embarrassed, and he even finds Celia kind of cute. Celia thinks he must be suffering from some kind of amnesia, and she immediately tells him that she will protect him. Leonis can't believe a demon lord like himself is being treated this way, but part of him enjoys it, and he ends up passing out. When Leonis wakes up, Celia gives him some food, but we learn he has lost his sense of taste centuries ago. He can't believe his body would lose consciousness due to hunger, and he thinks it's an embarrassment. He wants to punish Celia for her disrespectful behavior, but thinking about how she shared her food with him, he thinks she might not be so bad. Celia introduces herself to him, revealing that she's a swordsman in training at the Holy Sword Academy. She asks to know more about him, so he introduces himself as Leonis Magnus. She finds his name interesting, and Leonis thinks she must recognize it from the legends passed down about him. But she just thinks it's a cute name, and she even calls him Leo. She wonders how he ended up in the ruin, and thinks he must have been kidnapped and trapped by the void. Leonis doesn't know what she's talking about, and he asks about the void. Celia is surprised he doesn't know, but she explains that they are the enemy of humanity, that suddenly appeared 64 years ago. Meanwhile, we see Regina exploring on her own as her counter starts going off and a crystal starts to move. She immediately activates her holy sword and she prepares for a fight. Celia explains that there is still much they don't know about the void, and Leonis wonders what year they are in. However, it's not clear how long it's been, because they are now using a different calendar system, and Celia just tells him that it's the 64th year. There is suddenly an explosion, and Regina reports the appearance of a colossal void. Celia jumps on Leonis to protect him from the debris, and she tells him not to worry. The wall is suddenly destroyed, and an ogre-class void appears. Celia tries shooting it with her weapon, but it doesn't do any damage. Leonis prepares to defeat it, wanting to protect his mausoleum, but he suddenly trips over his cloak because he isn't used to his body. The monster gets even closer, but it suddenly gets blasted as Regina appears. She wonders about Leonis, but Celia tells her she will explain it later. The monster starts to get back up, so Regina transforms her weapon into an even bigger cannon, blasting it in the chest. The monster manages to survive, and Leonis is surprised, recognizing Regina's power on the same level as a level 4 explosion spell. Regina tells them to escape while she finishes off the void. Celia doesn't want to leave her, but thinking about Leonis's safety, she agrees to go. As they run, Leonis thinks about how everything seems to be going wrong. He thinks about going back and destroying the monster, but decides to stick with Celia so he can get more information about the current world. Their path is blocked by another void monster, and Celia tells him to run. She prepares to hold it off, but Leonis thinks about revealing his power and defeating it. He is about to cast his spell, but Celia suddenly pushes him away as the monster attacks and cuts her down. She is thrown to the side and she starts bleeding out, but she still worries about Leonis, telling him to run away and apologizing for being unable to protect him. Another monster appears, and Leonis becomes surrounded on all sides, but when they attack him, he's completely protected by a barrier. He summons his staff and instantly crushes one of the monsters with a level 8 gravity spell. He then attacks with a fireball, taking out the other two monsters with ease. However, he becomes shocked when he sees that the bones of the monster still remain, and he notes that in his current body, his powers are only a third of what they used to be. As a demon lord, he doesn't care about human life, but he recognizes Celia's courage, so he decides to bring her back. As he revives her, we see a peculiar symbol appear on her body. Regina finishes off the monster on her end, and she immediately tries to contact Celia. Leonis is amazed that humans have developed such technology, and Celia wakes back up. She immediately hugs onto him, glad that he's okay, and Leonis can't believe that's the first thing she's worrying about. She then wonders how she is alive, and Leonis says her injuries weren't that bad, and he just used a healing spell on her. Celia is confused by this, and she wonders if it was a holy sword power that he used. Leonis says he doesn't know what she means, so Celia explains that holy swords are a type of power that arose in humans in order to fight the void. When the void first appeared, children possessing mysterious abilities also started showing up. Leonis recalls Regina's weapon, and Celia explains that holy swords seem to embody the personality of the wielder, but she notes that she is yet to be blessed with her own holy sword, which is why she fights with magical devices. They are joined by Regina, and she wonders about the monsters that they encountered. Celia also wants to know what happened, but Leonis says that he hid and they seem to just disappear. They make it outside, and they decide to take Leonis back to the city. Regina introduces herself along the way, but she catches him staring, and she calls him perverse. Celia tells her not to be weird, but Regina continues to tease him, and Leonis can't believe that a demon lord like him is being ridiculed by a girl. However, they reach the city, and Leonis is amazed seeing it. Celia reveals that it's humanity's last stronghold against a void, and Leonis can't believe he's really 1,000 years in the future. 6 years ago, the voids entered through the dimensional gate, and Regina hugged tightly onto Celia, worried that all of their family would perish. However, Celia told Regina that her parents, along with all the other knights, would never lose the battle, and as the building began to quake, she told Regina that she would protect everyone once she got her holy sword. Her entire life, She'd been studying all the books her dad gave to her, and even her bigger sister had bought her a dress for all the dances she'd be invited to, with all the friends she would make at school. The building continued quaking as the sound of the explosions kept getting louder, but Celia kept screaming that everything would be fine, but they both knew that nothing would be the same, as the emergency lights went off. Celia tried running to help her family, but Regina held her back. However, Celia said that her family had never lost a single fight, and promised that everything would be all right. But when the explosion stopped, and the doors opened, both of them were long asleep. The entire city was in ruins, and every single soldier had been eliminated. Hearing those words made Celia collapse, as she apologized to Regina for lying to her that everything would be fine. Ever since that day, Celia knew nothing would be the same, and promised she would never lie again. Leo wondered if this entire place was a stronghold, so the girls told him that they also lived and trained here. This was the first time he'd ever seen an island this massive. Regina told him that it was also able to travel across the ocean to protect humans from all over the world. Celia announced to her leader that they managed to rescue a refugee, and said that he possessed one of the holy swords, saying he had healed her wound because of his kind refugee heart. Leo wondered why the fuck they kept calling him a refugee, so Regina said that it referred to people who lost their homeland because of the voids, and Celia told him that it was one of their missions to save all the refugees. They need more people who are as powerful as him to support them on the front lines, but it was getting late, so Regina began leaving to buy groceries. Once she was gone, Celia told him that he's on his own for the examination, and that she would meet up with him later. But before going through the door, Leo went inside the bathroom, angry at how everything ended up horribly wrong. His plan of rebuilding his demon army was basically worthless now, as humans had advanced without limits, and void monsters were stronger than most of his lead generals. On top of that, he had a worthless child's body, so he called Blackies and Sherry out. He told them that it's been a long time, but when Sherry laid her eyes on him, she thought that this was his cutest adorable form. He told her to shut her ugly mouth up, and Blackies was shocked to see him in his heroic form, since they had met after he became the Demon Lord. He told them that he had a favor to ask, and said that this land was an artificial land created by humans, and since they kept referring to it as the Seventh Fortress, he knew there must be 6 more, because of how powerful they had became. Blackies thought that even their peace smelled different, while Sherry couldn't believe they'd be capable of building all these structures, when they were too weak to defeat a single elf. To study their powers, he wanted to infiltrate their military compounds and eat their foods, but Sherry was disappointed because she wanted to be the one who took care of him. So he told her to shut her mouth, before showing her why he was called the Bone King. She apologized for disrespecting her master. So he told them to get out of his face, and both of them disappeared. At the entrance to the town, Pipes came and blew a mysterious wind on him, and after walking forward, a limiter tried measuring his mana. However, as he got closer, the limiter began going off, so he used his mana suppression to lower his detectable powers and walked forward. Finally, 2 poles appeared and scanned a laser at him, and when he was done, a machine spat out his card as he looked at it. Celia came to take a photo of it, saying that she now had everything necessary to record the date of his interrogation regarding the capabilities of his holy sword. Leo was surprised by the word interrogation, so Celia told him that it is a routine thing for anyone who joins the academy. He must record the capabilities of his holy sword. Leo thinks that since he doesn't have one, he needs to make up something to fool them. Then Celia told him she would take him on a tour first. Along the way, he saw how advanced their civilization had become, and realized that this was actually a peaceful place to live in. Before his eyes, she showed him Excalibur Academy, but when she asked him if it was amazing, Leo calmly said it was. However, she thought he would have a crazier reaction, but Leo couldn't believe it was even bigger than his largest stronghold. As they walked around, she showed him the library, the classrooms, and the auditorium before they ended up at the research lab. These places were only a fraction of all the places in the city, and there were even more dorms for where they lived. On top of that, there was a bath and a dance hall, but Leo had no idea why they would need those for war. So Celia explained that holy swords were brought out by a person's emotions, and failed to appear when a person was depressed. Because of that, all military compounds in the past failed at maximizing the Holy Sword's potential. But Leo felt something was off about the way they mysteriously appeared. As she kept showing him around the city, Celia collapsed, but told Leo that she was okay. Since she'd been gone for 2 days, she needed to get back to training as soon as she rested to get her holy sword out, and Leo wondered why she was the only one lacking a sword. While walking around the academy, one of the girls thought Leo was cute, but the other told her to watch out because he might grow up to become a demon lord in bed. Leo wondered how she knew he was the demon lord, but thought it was just a coincidence. Seeing how all of them were girls, he wondered if this was an all-girls academy, but Celia told him that it just appeared that way because they were in the female dorms area. Just then, some ugly guy who looks like he's been fighting an addiction for the last 12 years appeared, and made fun of her battle scar because she was too unfit to go on expeditions. However, Celia tries to ignore Muselle and leave with Leo, but Blondie stopped her from leaving and asked her who Leo was. When she told him it was none of his business, he started laughing in her face because she was babysitting an ugly kid now, even though he was disrespectful to the King of Bones. Leo tried overlooking it to appear normal. Muselle told Celia that she could join his platoon and never worry about risking her life again, especially with how useless she was at summoning a holy sword despite her bloodline. And with his collection of toys, he promised that he'd take care of her. But Leo knew that they were under his mind control spell. However, Celia told him that she wasn't interested tried walking aside. But Muselle grabbed her hair and restrained her. As she yelled in pain, Leo screamed at him and stared with gleaming eyes. And when Muselle asked what his ugly ass would do, Leo cast his demonic spell towards him, making his legs quake until he fell onto the floor. He asked Muselle if he was okay, but told him to listen like the uncultured swine he was, warning him to never lay a finger on her beautiful hair again. Muselle tried activating his holy sword, which was a reflection of his skinny wand, but a mysterious girl with massive orbs appeared, and ordered him to leave the female dorm area with his skinny sword before expelling him. Seeing that he was defeated, Muselle left along with his lackeys. But Elfine apologized that Celia had to put up with him. She saw Leo, and wondered if he was the guy who came with her, and introduced herself while the orbs recorded his size for his school uniform. Seeing that this was another holy sword, he wondered about what else could do. And Celia told Elfine that he was the kid who healed her with his holy sword. With him being the first human with healing magic, she wondered if the large amount of mana that radiated across the city had something to do with him. But as she kept speaking, Celia began losing consciousness, and Leo realized that she'd begun running dry of juice. A few hours later, they finally made it to their dorm, but Leo wondered why it looked so much older than all the others. Inside, she told him that this entire city is built on a merit system, and the higher rank platoon even have a jet bath. Leo wondered what f***ing overpowered weapon would be called a jet bath, and when they went to Regina's room, they saw that she was already asleep after playing with her celery sticks. When they got to her room, he wondered why they don't have any locks, but she told him that they were the worst platoon in the academy, so no one cared about their privacy. On her bed, she began developing plot, but she told Leo to just go ahead and take a bath without her. Inside the shower room, she wondered if he'd be willing to join their platoon, but he sneezed, so she told him to take the shower already. With the shower head on, he was shocked that they'd mastered the ability to combine fire with water, and began washing his head with soap, thinking it's incredible technology. But what he wasn't prepared for was Celia joining him. He wondered if this had any shame, but she told him that she's his sister from Alabama and asked him if he would really want to join their platoon. After all, she's weak without a holy sword, and they're the worst platoon of all. So seeing how honest she was about the disadvantages, he asked her why she continued fighting when she was so weak, instead of being protected. However, Celia screamed that she could never handle another person she cared about passing away, but her mind had finally broke because of that. Leo activated the insignia on her leg, and her eyes glowed red while her vampiric teeth came out. In that moment, she got up towards him, sucking the blood out of him. When she wondered what she just did, Leo revealed that he'd been lying about his holy sword this entire time, because he could never revive someone, and that Celia would never be alive again. By the time Celia woke up, she wondered how he got her to the bed, and asked him who he really was. So he decided to tell her the truth. In his previous life, he was the demon lord who was able to use magic instead of holy swords. So to bring her back from the dead, he used his most powerful phase 10 spell, Create Elder Undead, and made her the highest-ranking vampire queen in this world. After going an entire day without blood, she had to suck it from his neck before dying. And once she realized he wasn't lying, she told him that she wanted to share her past with him. 9 years ago, a large-scale void attack destroyed her entire country, and because they were the only 2 young survivors, the government took them in, using them as weapons in dangerous missions. Even so, her only wish was to destroy the voids, and she thought that her holy sword would awaken faster since she had the bloodline of the strongest warrior, but has still yet to awaken her powers. Now that she died, she wondered if she would still be able to awaken her holy sword. So Leo told her that she definitely will, but his stomach started growling because he wanted to drink some milk out of her tits. At the cafeteria, Celia wondered why she had no appetite anymore, so he told her that eating food was the slowest way for her to regain her mana. When she asked him what he would be eating, he told her that he would just eat bread. But Celia said that he'd end up malnutrition if he didn't eat better. However, Leo told her that he wouldn't take advice from a worthless zombie, crushing her emotions. And he realized that being a vampire was actually hurting her feelings. She asked him how he planned on paying for his food, so Leo pulled out a gold coin and thought the gold digger would fall for him, saying that he has a mountain of 20 million gold coins to command his army of undead. However, Celia told him that her country only accepts credit cards, and that his gold coins are worthless, so the only thing he could afford to do is breathe. Just then, 2 guys made fun of an ugly girl's uniform and tried to take it off, but she knocked them away with her wooden sword, telling them that she wouldn't hold back if they tried to disrespect her again. It was Celia's lifelong friend Sakuya, and Celia asked her why those men were chasing her. So Sakuya told her that she snuck off from her camp's training to gamble their rations away. Seeing Leo, she recognized him as the boy that Elfine talked about, so Celia told her that he was the only healer in this entire academy, and had taken a void down on his own. Sakuya was glad to meet him, and Leo noticed her dedication to the sword through her rough hand. Once they were done, Celia bought food for both of them, and Leo wondered why she was wearing a different type of uniform. So Sakuya revealed that it was the traditional outfit from her homeland, and swore to always wear it, especially since she became the only survivor after her country was destroyed by voids. Leo realized he shouldn't have asked her about it, and her friends came to ask her if she had their money. But she told them that she would pay them next week. The instructor Alto asked Leo to show off his holy sword so they could study the ability types of his weapon. Once he summoned his demon lord staff, she wondered what type it would be, so he claimed that it was a demonic wind type, with wind usually being a support type. She wanted to test out his abilities on the void simulators, and when Alto told him to fight them to show off his power, Leo crushed all of the robots with a single strike. Neither one of them believed he was just a support type, and everyone from outside came to see the destruction he created. He realized that his ordinary life was now ruined, and as she tried increasing the stats of the void simulators, Muzel said that he would be measuring Leo's powers instead. Leo accepted, but said he'd be weaker than the robots, pissing Muzel off as he activated his holy sword along with his girl followers. Celia screamed that it was unfair to have all 5 of them fight Leo, but Muzel said that it was his holy sword's ability to control people's minds, so he wasn't doing anything against the rules. Even so, Leo accepted to fight all 5 of them alone. And when Alto reminded him that he can always back down, Celia said that she'd be backing up Leo since she's his guardian. Muzel thought it was perfectly fine, but said that if they were to lose, he would make Celia join his harem. So Leo accepted, but in exchange, Leo told Muzel that he would never talk to Celia again if he loses. So Muzel accepted his condition. He told Celia not to worry because he can destroy all of them with a single blow, so Celia smiled and called out for her practice sword, since she couldn't summon a holy one. As soon as the match began, Celia rushed forward, but Muzel's lackey continued parrying all of her blows. Leo realized that her speed had already increased since she became the vampire queen. And when the redhead smashed the ground, Celia began slashing all the rocks away, and while she was distracted, Muzel sent his 2 other girls to take care of Leo, but he told Celia that he would be okay. The girl cast her lightning magic towards him, but he released the power of his shadows to prevent her from moving and launched her off balance. At the same time, Celia took care of the 2 girls, and told Muzel to stop running behind girls like a coward. Regina managed to barely make it to the training area, while Celia continued subduing all of his lackey. But as she got closer, he used his holy sword magic, absolute domination on her, and froze her in place. He cast her sword away, and began dragging his stick all over her body, but said that he needed to finish Leo off first. Seeing that he was cornered by all 5 of them, Leo knew that he could still destroy them with a single blow. But Celia kept repeating that she would protect Leo, and swore that no one would harm him. As her voice chanted louder, a holy light began appearing, and her holy sword materialized, as she broke Muzel's absolute domination spell. Within an instant, she rushed forward to break his holy sword, and all of the girls stopped being under his mind control. Celia asked him if he would surrender, and he begged her to have mercy on him. Regina ran to hug Celia and congratulated her for awakening her holy sword, and Leo was glad that she finally awakened it. When they were back home, Celia thanked Leo for helping her, but he said that she was the one who protected him, so she smiled and swore that she would always protect him as his older sister. However, she wanted to request one more thing from him, and that was for both of them to get stronger together. To celebrate her holy sword awakening, Regina threw a party for all of them, and Elfine joined them with Sakuya for the feast. They wondered what they should name her sword. And while Regina thought Shining Saint's sword was a cool name, Celia thought the Demon Lord's bone would be better. Even though she had awakened it, she felt that its true power was still dormant. But they wondered what they should do with Leo now that he'd be living with them. Since there wasn't any free rooms left, they realized he would need to sleep with one of them. Regina told him that her room is the best because she would always play with him with the celery stick. Elfine told him that she had an even bigger cannon than Regina's holy sword, while Sakuya told him that she was the best at handling swords. However, Celia told them that Leo would be staying only in her room. But when the girls wondered why, Leo said that she was his guardian this entire time, and that she needs to suck him for his magical fluid all night so she can keep living. Leo knew how saucy made that sound, but decided to just go along with it. Inside Elfine's room, her massive spheres began circling around him to scan his status, but told him that she could only use her powers for a short period of time. When he asked her what she meant, she told him that 6 months ago, she lost her holy sword abilities when she was on an expedition with a different platoon, and every single one of them lost their lives. Once the scanning was complete, she told him that he should pay attention to her eyes when she tells the story instead of the ones under her face. Seeing a map on her computer, he asked her if he could have a copy of it. And when he was alone, he began trying to relocate the location of his death hole, and saw that the void spawned where his battles had went on. And when he called Blackies out, Blackies revealed that there was a large crystal placed under the island, and that while humans think they're controlling magic, they're actually extracting the crystal's powers. At the same time, Sherry came and told him that she finished her scouting mission and brought a legendary item called the donut. When he thought it was delicious, she told him that she even traveled to Mash's universe to steal some cream puffs. But he asked her useless face about the actual information she'd gathered. After putting the food away, she told him that not a single person remembers the Demon King, and feels as if everyone's memories had been deleted. Hearing the shower, she asked him if he was enjoying the new girl more than her. But he told Sherry that she was an ugly compared to his highest-ranking vampire queen. Hearing those words made her sad because she felt as if she wasn't enough. But he told her she was nothing but a worthless ugly maid who needed to know her place. Just then, Celia told him that she was done showering, and Leo couldn't control being the king of the bones. That night, 2 divers were exploring under the ocean, and saw a mysterious creature underneath. But as soon as they saw the great sage's face, he crushed both of them with his vines. In the 16th year of the Holy God calendar, Leo was one of the great 6 heroes of the world, and an ugly loser, who never learned how to open his eyes, was leading him to the site of a giant orc that was destroying the nearby villages. However, the man opened his eyes for the first time in his life, and when they got to the site, Leo wondered where the monsters were, but saw that the man had disappeared, as he felt uneasy and tried to draw his sword. 3 mages cast their barrier magic to suppress his movement, and 5 more soldiers ran to restrain him with chains. Once he was caught, they pulled him up and stopped him from moving, but he managed to free one of his legs. However, the men stabbed him with their spears, and even though Leo tried to resist, he had already lost too much blood, so the men dropped him on the floor. As his body laid lifeless, the soldiers were glad to finally defeat Leo, since the people liked him more than the king, and he was strong enough to overthrow their entire kingdom. When they walked away, Leo heard a heavenly voice telling him that it wasn't his time, and wondered why he walked into their trap, especially since he knew they were about to kill him. However, he revealed that he only wanted to make the people feel safe. So when she asked him if he regretted saving them from the SS rank calamity, he told her that he didn't. After all, he didn't view them as evil, but the goddess told him that she didn't care whether they were evil or not, because this entire world is evil. She wanted to begin a rebellion against the world, and when Leo asked her why she was inviting him, she told him that he was the only one she could ask for support, but then revealed she was lying. Her real reason was because she'd been watching him all this time, and has fallen in love with him, telling him that it's boring to be a hero, so he should become hers. His eyes shifted towards her and Leo woke up from the dream, determined to find Rosalia and restore the Demon Lord's army. At the same time, Celia was sleeping, but Leo commanded her to wake up, and her body levitated upwards, wondering what took over her. Leo showed her the insignia on his arm, saying that she is forced to do anything he wants since she was now his servant. When she heard those words, she realized that he could do anything he wants to her, but told him to be gentle since she doesn't like it rough. However, Leo said that her body was as worthless as her face, especially since she spent all of last night sucking his body fluids out. Celia apologized, because she can't control her desires for sucking his blood while sleeping, but Leo told her that he doesn't mind her sucking his fluids out, as long as she stops using her teeth. When she wondered if they were talking about the same thing, Elfine began calling her phone, and told her that there was a massive meeting where the leaders talked about colossal events in the sea last night. Celia asked her what they were talking about, so she said that 3 soldiers disappeared mysteriously, and that she would investigate the source of disruption, but the only thing that was disrupting was her entire fleet of missiles in the back. Damn! After hanging up, she told Leo that they won't be having school today, so she wanted to spend her time training with him. However, Leo wondered if she wanted to replenish her mana first by draining all his body fluids out. At the same time, the generals of the island were still searching for the missing divers, but when they pulled up the footage from the night before, they realized that a void creature caused their disappearance. After all, the 3rd assault garden was stampeded 6 years ago, and a similar structure had appeared beneath the island as well. One of the generals told the army leader to train his soldiers for the upcoming battle, but knowing that preparing for war would cause panic, he thought it would be better to conceal its presence for the time being. Just then, the phone began ringing, and after one of the commanders hung up, he revealed that the structure had disappeared since last night. At the same time, Celia was practicing against the drone robots, and after knocking them away, and slashing one of them down, the system finished her session. Leo thought it was incredible how gracefully she handled the sword, and wondered if she'd ever been trained in the past, so she revealed that since she never had a family, she'd always been teaching herself all the techniques to comfort her. Leo said that he'd teach her how to extract the full potential of her vampire queen magic, and use her own mana to enhance her physical abilities. However, he wanted to give her an actual challenge, and summoned his wand before surrounding them with a magical concealment sphere. From the ground, he began spawning a horde of skeletons, but Celia was scared because she hadn't seen any skeletons before, but began rushing towards them. One by one, she began slashing all of them down and leaped to evade their attacks as Leo summoned hundreds more. By the time she defeated all of them, she moaned from how exhausted she had become. So Leo activated his wand to swallow their dead bodies away. She bent over to thank him, and Leo said that he'll allow her to replenish her mana, saying that she's already grown much stronger than before. Even then, she still wanted Leo to train her harder and show her how to handle the sword, but before he told her to watch what she's saying, his stomach began growling from how hungry he had become. Meanwhile, Elfine's sphere was scouting the assault garden for the disappeared men, and underneath the island, a group of divers were still searching for their bodies. On the other side of the island, Sakuya's ugly ass had finally gambled all her money away, but saw Blackie sitting alone. As she got closer, she realized that he had no collar, and decided to name him Kurgan, but as he growled at her, she tied up her food to him, and bid him goodbye. Inside Elfine's dorm, Mrs. Massive Cannons came in, and told Elfine to try her new warm liquidy suit, wanting to know if it was good before making Leo eat all of her liquid out. Elfine wished her luck, and Sakuya walked in telling them that something smelled like fish. But when Regina told her that it must be the new meal she made, Sakuya told her that it was definitely something else. After sitting down to eat, Regina wondered why Elfine was in her uniform. So she revealed that she was still investigating the entire assault garden, even on her day off. But Sakuya had already fallen asleep. Inside the city, Leo was still shocked at how nice their civilization was, and how everyone lived in peace. Meanwhile, Sherry's dumbass had become a chef to feed Leo the best food. And when her boss asked her to cut up the potatoes, she told him that she had a sharper knife, and slashed everything along with his plate. The boss screamed, saying this was the reason her master disowned her ugly worthless as she was about to clean the outside of the store. She saw Celia driving Leo around, and as Celia went to get food for him, Sherry stared in jealousy, and wondered why he would pick an ugly hag over her. A few minutes later, Celia arrived at the restaurant she wanted to show him. But when a bunch of kids came out to see Celia, he wondered why they had come to an orphanage. However, she told him that they made their money by selling food like a restaurant. And when Leo saw how some of them used to be his same age, he remembered the days when he would be starving with barely any money. Seeing her smiling around them, he was glad that this world actually cared about those kids. Some ugly fat asked him if he was friends with Celia, but he ignored him. And while Celia was unpacking the food she got, another ugly came to see the treasure under her skirt. But before Leo could kill him, Celia told him that he's just a child, who has no idea what he's doing, so he pulled his shadows away. The caretaker of the orphanage finally came, and Celia told her that he was the lead she found in the dungeon. So all the kids ran and thought he was the coolest guy for surviving against voids. The caretaker told the kids to give him some peace, and when Celia revealed that she'd brought some donuts, all of the kids ran and were excited to eat their favorite food. While Leo stared at them, he realized that this was the place Celia wanted to protect, but the place he wanted to protect was still nowhere to be found. Underneath the ocean, the new divers wondered where the structure had disappeared off to. But inside the cavern, a man heard a vibration against the wall, and Elfine saw the monitor read the vibration. While Sakuya felt it in her bones, two men saw giant branches all around the facility, and it watching them. At the same time, Leo enjoyed eating his food with the kids from the orphanage. We suddenly see Leo's memories of the past, when he was still a hero. A city of the kingdom was being invaded by a group of ogres, putting everyone in fear. The heroes Tiras and Arakiel and Leo had the duty to eliminate them. Arakiel starts casting a powerful magic, however, his plan is a bit twisted. He wanted to eradicate not only the monsters but also the citizens. Then, Tiras would use her power to revive the citizens. Yet, Leo had another idea, which is probably the reason he was later betrayed. He didn't want to see the citizens suffer, so he used his sword to cut Arakiel's spell in half. Arakiel was confused, but Leo, who was still 12 years old at the time, couldn't see people being eradicated and being brought back to life. He then jumped down and started to fish the ogres one by one. The citizens watched in awe as he sliced the ogres and even wrestled another one. Something was clear, every citizen saw Leo as a true hero and loved him. However, the other two didn't like Leo, especially Arakiel. Back to the present, we see Arakiel's monster form manage to infiltrate the underground in the Assault City. Meanwhile, in the HQ of the Assault City, there's a report that the huge tree has gone missing. They wonder if it's a void and are determined to deal with it when they find it. They then contact Elfine and allow her to explain the results of her analysis. She explains that she detected something underground in District 62. She also explains that at the same time, there was a magic energy reaction. She then reveals the same occurred minutes later, and after analyzing all the data, she concludes it was caused by a void. Everyone starts to panic, unable to believe a void managed to infiltrate the underground facilities. The data team analyzes the new info with their previous one and explains it's true. The old man is confused and asks why their void detection machine didn't give them any signal. The analyst explains the void produced weak magic waves, therefore the machine didn't react because it was considered a common accident. But the general is still confused. How did the void infiltrate the assault city? The girl explains there are certain parts of the city structure that could allow it. Suddenly, an alarm rings and the analyst explains something was detected moving in District 31. The old man is confused again, asking why that thing isn't releasing magic. Elfine quickly concludes the void is limiting its power to avoid being detected. The old man rejects that possibility because voids aren't smart. But Elfine bluntly asks him if they found any hints about what happened to the last investigation team. Another alarm rings, this time, a report from the stock department. The report states they have found some tree roots in that section. Meanwhile, in Elfine's room, Regina is worried because she cannot contact Celia. Elfine asks if she knows where Celia is, and Regina replies that she must be in the orphanage with Leo. Elfine tracks them through GPS, but Regina asks her if voids did really infiltrate the city. Elfine simply replies yes, and tells Regina and Sakuya to stay alert. Meanwhile at the orphanage, the kids are all enjoying their lunch, when the dirty kid asks Leo to show him his holy sword. Leo is clearly annoyed because this dirty-ass kid just spit on his face. However, there's a kid girl named Chisela who calms the kid down and gives Leo her handkerchief. Leo sees her as a kind and well-educated child, but she's clearly crushing on him. She shyly calls him cool for being able to use a holy sword and quickly rushes back to her tomato land. Back at the headquarters, they manage to find some hints about what's happening. Not only did they manage to find some footsteps, but they also found a corridor full of tree roots. The men there await orders to destroy those roots. Suddenly, those roots start to inflate and show some sort of eyes. In the next instant, all men are attacked, and they lose communication. The general now believes it's a void, but wonders how it managed to get into the underground. The old man then asks why their aerial defenses are so strong, yet the underground ones are trash. Harry Potter here decides to panic and call for a general evacuation. But the city commander isn't available to give that command. Things get worse when the analyst reveals the roots managed to cut the communication system within the city. Harry Potter starts to use his iPad to hack the system and re-establishes some communication. Two guys manage to survive the last attack, however, they let the void escape. Not only that, but they cannot track the void at the moment. The general freaks out, because void usually attacks non-stop, but this one ran away. The analysts quickly realize the void pathed his way through the energy corridor, but don't know why. Elfine quickly realizes its goal is the magic energy core that sustains the city. She quickly explains that if it's a void lord, then it will use the magic energy core to create a huge stampede. Everyone freaks out, ordering to protect the magic core and activate all defensive systems. Seconds later, the tree roots breach the walls and try to reach the core. The defensive system starts shooting the roots down, while the troops arrive. However, the defense system is taking some losses. They quickly decide to change their priority to not only defend the core, but they also order the citizens to be evacuated, while everyone else prepares to face a stampede. Meanwhile, at the orphanage, this ugly disgusting kid is still insisting on seeing Leo's holy sword. The caretaker tells the kids to stop because a holy sword isn't a toy, but Celia asks him to show. Since she's his familiar, he accepts to entertain the kids, but in his own way. So, he ends up summoning a mini skeletons and plays with it as if it were marionettes. However, the kids find it disgusting. Meanwhile, the soldiers are still trying to deal with the roots, but they stop once they reach the magic core. It quickly forces its way in and starts summoning voids. The city alarm quickly starts to ring, making Celia and Leo rush outside. They realize a stampede is striking their city. The city's defense system activates, using the reserve energy, but it will take 3 days for them to get any external help. The generals wonder if they will survive, but one of them assures the students are ready. Elfine and Sakuya and Regina help to evacuate the citizens, but Regina is still worried about Celia. Elfine assures that Celia should arrive there soon, as she should follow the normal procedures. But their focus for now is to deal with the voids in the area. The sky is filled with voids, but the defensive system's machine guns start to quickly deal with them. The girls then reach a rooftop, where each of them starts summoning their holy swords and attacking. Meanwhile, Leo is watching this from afar, thinking the void humanoids are quite strong. Celia then starts to panic and returns inside, stating they must evacuate the kids. Leo tries to follow, but he's interrupted by Sherry, who asks for his orders. However, Leo doesn't understand how she managed to get to him so quickly. She tries to lie, stating she didn't follow them to get info about Celia. Leo stops caring and tells her to protect his familiars. Sherry tries to refuse, saying she wants to protect him, but he simply tells her to fuck off. Celia then calls for Leo, explaining the kids are ready to evacuate. However, Leo notices something and tells her it's dangerous outside. A dragon void is in the area, and Celia heads outside to deal with them. She summons her holy sword, but Leo notices she hasn't reached her real power as a vampire queen. When asked if she's afraid, she replies yes. But she cannot leave in fear and leave the kids to perish. He smiles and decides to summon his staff, decided to not let his strongest familiar die. Two voids attack, but Celia quickly deals with them. She then notices two others burning in the air and realizes it's Leo doing. She asks if this is his power, but he simply focuses on the next targets. More and more voids start to appear around the city. Sakuya notices some ogres and dashes in with her sword, cut them to pieces. Regina uses her huge cannon to shoot dragons down, while Elfine uses her stuff to scout the area. Suddenly, they feel the ground shaking and they notice a huge void hydra. The city defense system cannot keep up with the several voids, and their weapons are destroyed. Leo then looks at the voids and realizes it's monsters from 1,000 years ago. Even the great dragons were corrupted and became voids. He quickly realizes that if they're as strong as they were back in time, he cannot use low-level spells. He tells Celia to protect him while he casts a high-level spell. She quickly rushes ahead to deal with several voids, enabling Leo to start casting his spell. However, he doesn't really know why he's doing this. He is the great demon lord, and shouldn't care about the destruction of a human city. But he cannot stay still when someone tries to challenge him and his family. A huge dragon appears in front of him, and Leo casts his level 10 spell. Several fireballs appear in the air and crash in the area. Celia is scared because it's raining fireballs, but Leo tells her to stay still. He manages to pin the dragon down, but it attacks Celia with fire. She dodges it, and Leo starts to blame his current body for his low level of power. Suddenly, Blackas appears from the shadow and bites the dragon's neck. Leo uses this chance to cast another level 10 gravity spell, smashing the dragon to the floor. Celia cannot believe she saw Leo defeat such a huge void, yet suddenly, the floor starts shaking and collapsing. The tree roots appear once again, and they restrain Celia. She's slowly pulled inside the hole. Leo tries to help her, but some roots block his path. The roots then start taking some shape and call for his name. Leo smiles and recognizes the roots as Arakiel, one of the former heroes. Leo mentions he didn't expect to meet Arakiel 1,000 years later. He summons his staff and casts a spell, but the tree dude doesn't fight him and returns underground. Leo realizes Celia is still alive because the mark hasn't disappeared yet. Blackas comes out of the shadows to talk about Arakiel and how he's changed after his resurrection. Blackas notices the kids from the orphanage looking at Leo. He wonders why they put themselves in danger and asks him if he has something to do with them. Leo thinks they are afraid of his power. He approaches them, telling them to return to the shelter, but they thank him for protecting them. They beg him to rescue Celia. Surprised they aren't afraid of him, he assures them he will rescue her. He erects a barrier and summons skeleton guards to protect them. Leo walks back to Blackas, who picks up the sound of Celia's communication device. Elfine and Regina are facing off the Hydra and want Celia's backup, but Leo tells them that Celia has been kidnapped. He tells Elfine to get Celia's location using her holy sword, but she tells him to wait for their help. Leo tells her there is no time and gives her a view of the area where Celia was kidnapped. Elfine manages to find her location and tells Leo, but suddenly, Elfine is about to be attacked by the Hydra, but Sherry suddenly appears and protects her. Sherry is jealous of Blackas because Leo rides him and doesn't ride her. While heading to Celia's location, Blackas asks Leo why he sent Sherry to help the humans. Leo tries giving Blackas excuses, but Blackas isn't convinced. Leo finally confesses to taking a slight liking to the human, and Blackas is pleased with his answer. Leo uses his magic to break the door leading to the room holding Celia. They both burst into the room where they find the branch dude. Leo tells him it's time to return my girl. Leo launches his flame magic, which burns the vines, but Arakiel regenerates quickly and asks Leo how he's still alive. Leo tells him he never perished, but he just sealed his soul 1,000 years. Arakiel tells him the world has changed since then. He claims the world needs to be rebuilt, along with the empty star. Leo asks him about the empty star. Arakiel tells him he has been chosen to be a bringer of good tidings. Several eyes open from Arakiel's branches, making Leo realize that Arakiel defeated the priests of the Sacred Order and integrated them into him. Leo calls out to Celia, and she responds to him from behind the main branch of Arakiel. She is being restrained by strong vines. While Leo is distracted, Arakiel tries to attack him, but Blackas warns him, and he dodges in time. They run around the room dodging Arakiel's attacks. Leo summons ice to cut through the branches, but the monster regenerates too quickly. He tries to attack Leo while he's off guard, but Blackas protects him. Blackas notices their magic is becoming weaker with each second, and Leo says it's because they're in Arakiel's domain. Arakiel casts a spell to increase the number of spells cast at once. He then creates multiple beams of light that ricochet around the room. Leo gets hit by a beam, so he combines his magic attack with Blackas, but Arakiel creates a light barrier to protect himself. Blackas tells Leo that Arakiel has unlimited power because he's absorbing it from the energy crystal. Leo tells Blackas it's time to take a little risk. Meanwhile, Celia tries to break free from the branches restraining her, but it only hurts her body. Despite the pain, she refuses to give up and let Leo fight alone. She summons her holy sword and tries to cut the branches, but she can't make a movement. Outside, Arakiel keeps attacking Leo with his light magic. Leo and Blackas combine to cast a powerful spell, but Arakiel creates a light magic barrier to counter it. Celia is still struggling against the vines, increasing the injuries in her body. Her eyes turn red and some sort of blades come out from her blood. The blades cut through the branches, allowing her to find her precise location. He then throws her communication device covered in his blood, piercing her chest. And with that, Celia finally gets free from the vines, awakening as a true vampire queen. She cuts through the branch in front of her and returns to Leo's side. Blackas tells Leo he needs time to recuperate and steps aside. Leo reunites with Celia and he praises her for mastering her vampire powers. She thanks him for supplying her with mana so she can join the fight. Arakiel heals his wounds and tells Leo he will crush into dust. Root Guy casts a huge light magic with his multiple spell chanting skill. Blackas realizes the tree wants to take the whole city by casting multiple level 10 spells, but Leo won't allow it. He tells Celia he's going to take Arakiel down and asks for her protection. Leo tries to draw his demon sword, and Blackas asks him if he remembers what that implies. Leo remembers the instruction from Rosalia years ago. He can only draw out the demon sword under one specific condition, to protect his kingdom. With that in mind, Leo draws the sword, declaring this land and people is his kingdom. He recites the sword's instruction, and it acknowledges Leo's decision. Arakiel tells Leo he can't change the destiny of the world, but Leo tells him he'll rip through the fabrics of destiny with his own two hands. Leo uses his secret sword technique, making Arakiel disappear. All the voids begin to disappear, and the stampede ceases. The next day, Leo wakes up and cannot move from bed because of his sore muscles. Turns out the power of the sword is overbearing for his undeveloped body. Celia comes into his room bringing him a present from the kids. She tells him that wielding her holy sword consumed a lot of blood, and she wants to suck some. He teases her about her self-control, and she begs him for just a little. So she starts to suck his finger, but suddenly the girls step into the room and find them in this situation. and Regina tells them that they can't do it without her. But Celia explains to them that it's just a big misunderstanding. In the aftermath, the city was devastated by the stampede, but it's slowly being rebuilt. Since the power plant was destroyed, solar panels were built to produce mana. Leo tries to access the information vault, but a spirit tells him he needs permission. Leo is surprised that Spirit still exists, and claims to be a student at the academy. Regina closes his eyes from behind and plays a game of guess who but with extra squeezing, but Leo guesses correctly. He pulls away, telling her they are in public. He asks her if she tailed in just to tease him, but she tells him she came to return something and bumped into him by accident. He tells her he came to do some research on an ancient language. He tells her he hopes the language will help him recover his memories as an excuse. She feels for him and assures him she will grant him access. She approaches the spirit and asks it to let them through. The spirit tells her she doesn't have permission, but she uses a trick to make it grant them access. Regina tells Leo to keep her trick secret. Leo finds out the spirit is man-made and asks Regina what happened to the original spirits. She tells him there are rumors that they lurk in forests. She finds references for the ancient language in the vault and points Leo at them, telling him he can only read the books in the vault. They get a message from the administration inviting them to the commendation ceremony, hosted by Alteria, the imperial princess. Leo is happy about it because he can use royalty as an excuse to ask questions about the human empire. He gets a call from Celia asking him where he is. He tells her he went on an errand but will meet her at the harbor. Regina leaves him in the vault. Meanwhile, in the outskirts, a black lion called Bati tells his gang will kidnap Alteria during the ceremony. Jack agrees with him, saying they can use her to bargain for the freedom of their imprisoned brethren. Gerdra is angry the human locked them up. Elsa asks Bati if they would be able to hold up against the holy swords of the humans. Jack starts arguing with her, and Bati tries to calm them down. A stranger tells them they lack solidarity. Gerdra asks her why she is mocking them, and she tells him she's offering her assistance, because she shares their resentment. Jack asks her if she would help them capture the princess, and she tells them she will give them powers greater than a holy sword. She brings forth a demon sword and gives Bati great power, which allows him to make his own demon sword. Jack confuses it for a holy sword, but the stranger tells her it's a demon sword that can be wielded by anyone. Elsa is impressed and thinks their kidnapping attempt could be successful with such power. The stranger tells them anyone else who is strong enough will also get a demon sword. She suggests they hijack the Hyperion and kidnap the princess. Gerdra says if they steal the ship, they can sail straight to free their jail partners. The stranger asks them for a favor in return for the demon swords. She tells them to deliver the swordsman to her so they can be used as a sacrifice to the goddess. They agree to her terms. Bati asks for her name, and she introduces herself as Sharnek, the witch of the ever-dark forest. Meanwhile, Leo arrives at the harbor, impressed by the battleship docked there. Leo decides to get Celia a gift and is impressed when the vendor tells him the elves make it. Leo asks him about the elves, and the vendor explains the diversity of people who reside in the city. Princess Alteria stands on the battleship to greet the people gathered at the harbor. Her guard tells her she shouldn't stand too close to the edge. She apologizes, telling him she was looking for someone. Celia and the rest of the platoon meet up with Leo. He gives her the gift he bought for her as thanks for saving his life. She thanks him for the gift, telling him it's adorable. She tells him it's time they board the ship and meet with the princess. Leo asks about Regina, but they tell her she won't be attending the ceremony. Suddenly, a student named Fenris calls out to Celia, asking her what she's doing at the harbor. Celia tells her they were invited to the commendation ceremony. Fenris tells her she is busy all the time because she is on the student council. They begin to argue, but Elfine breaks it up. Fenris tells Celia she heard she awakened her holy sword and congratulates her. Leo asks Celia about Fenris, and she tells him they are some sort of childhood friends. Meanwhile, Bati and his gang infiltrate the ship. They take down guards and steal their faces to take their human appearance. They commend the plan of Sharnek for working so well thus far. The ceremony begins, but Leo sits down, looking through a copy of the history books. He notices some missing information, which indicates someone was trying to hide the events of the past. Sherry appears, and he asks her what she has discovered. She gives him information about the ship, and he presents her with a gift, which she isn't too pleased with. She takes it anyway and disappears into the shadow world. Celia and the girls invite Leo to the pool, but he refuses, saying he can't swim and doesn't have a swimsuit, but Celia has already a swimsuit for him, but it is strange how she knew he needed a swimsuit. In the pool, Celia is training Leo how to swim, but Leo's mind is thinking about how dangerous these weapons are. But when he noticed that the children were swimming better than him, and the guests started talking about him, he felt embarrassed and very angry with himself. Later in the day, it's almost time for the princess's speech. She is being led by her guards, but they are ambushed by Bati, and his accomplice disguised as staff. They take the princess hostage, but she releases the master key, and the pierced creature runs away. The rest of the demi-human gang surrounds the people gathered for the speech. They confiscate their phones and keep them in check with a bomb. They ask the demi-humans what they want, and they ask for the release of their partners in prison. But Regina tells them they don't negotiate with terrorists. He tells Regina they will be sacrificed to the goddess. Leo tells Celia he wants to make sure of the princess's safety, and disappears into the shadow world. Bati and his crew force her to activate the ship and head towards the capital. She tells them they would be heading towards a cluster of voids. Bati asks her to steer around it, but Sharnak tells her to head straight at it, so the holy knights are tainted to make them all suitable as sacrifices. Bati finally sees her true intentions, and tries to fight her, but she subdues him. The guards of the harbor notice the ship start moving, and try to stop it. The pierced creature meets with Regina, who identifies it as the royal family's carbuncle, and delivers the message calling for help. She jumps back on the ship and bumps into Leo, who seems lost. She tells him her little sister is in danger. Regina then starts explaining to Leo about her background plot. She introduces herself again, this time as the fourth princess of the Ortolese Empire, and Alteria is her younger sister. She explains that on the day she was born, an unlucky star appeared in the sky, and for some reason, there's a strange law for royal children who are born under that star. In short, the kid must either be deleted or locked up in a monastery in the mountains for the rest of their lives. But Celia's grandfather was unhappy with how Regina was being treated, so he decided to take her in, and that's how she became Celia's maid and friend. She then mentions there's a chance that the demi-human gang has taken her sister to control the ship. Leo is confused, but she reveals the royal family are holders of the power of the spirits, and the ship's navigation system is an artificial elemental, which can only be commanded by royal blood. In short, Alteria is the Hyperion itself. With that information, Leo decides to recapture the princess. He mentions Celia and the others should be fine despite being held hostage in the hall. Regina gets shocked, but Leo replies they're the ones who can do it. He thinks the carbuncle should know the way to the main bridge, and Regina lets the spirit lead their way. Meanwhile, at the party hall, Fenris tries to talk to the beastmen, asking how they even got there. But the wolf guy smiles, mentioning they just used his holy sword. Elfine takes this chance to tell Celia that she already analyzed the bomb. Celia is a bit confused about how she did it, and Elfine explains she hid her holy sword behind the chandelier. She then reveals the bomb isn't reactive type, that means that the holy sword user must send magic power to activate it. The only problem is that it cannot be neutralized, only delayed, and to add more salt to the injury, she can only delay it for only 1 second. Celia thinks that if they work together, they can easily deactivate the bomb. She looks around and notices a fork. She decides to poke it into her finger, making her bleed to activate her vampire queen power. Meanwhile, Regina and Leo manage to reach the main bridge, but it's empty. Well, technically it is filled with corpses. Leo wonders where they took the princess. Regina then picks up Carbuncle, mentioning there's a chance where they can create a link to talk with Alteria. However, she isn't sure if she can form that link. Leo tells her that she can do it because he believes in her. After all, she wants to protect her little sister. She returns to her relaxed state and decides to give it a try. She holds the carbuncle and concentrates, trying to talk to the princess. The princess replies, asking who Regina is. She lies about her identity, mentioning she also can use spirit power, and asks where the princess is. The princess simply means she's being taken away and begs Regina to focus on saving the people inside the ship instead. The princess then mentions the terrorists have set the course of Hyperion to avoid Black Reef, and reveals their only way to stop the ship from reaching this destination is by taking the carbuncle to the bridge. Regina then explains everything to Leo, who immediately asks her where's the princess. Regina reveals Alteria's location, but is worried because if they choose to save her, everyone else will be left alone to their destiny. But Leo simply tells her to stop the ship because he will save the princess. She refuses to let him go alone because he's just a child. Leo ignores her words and uses magic to destroy the window. He tells her that he's a lot stronger than she thinks, so they should focus on their missions. He jumps down while Regina tells him to save his sister. Meanwhile, at the party hall, we see that Celia is trying to use her vampire powers to control her blood. She manages to create a thin line of blood, all the way to the guy controlling the bomb. She tells Elfine to prepare herself to delay the bomb. Meanwhile, Fenris never shuts up and starts blabbering toward the wolf guy. The wolf dude gets as annoyed as I am and threatens to slice her neck off, when suddenly Sakuya somehow manages to free herself and drop a plate. The terrorist cannot understand how this chick is still eating some bread, and asks how she got rid of the ropes. She simply replies she used the knife on the table. Wolf guy gets annoyed and passes toward her, but Elsa reasons that Sakuya's aura is quite intense. Once again, Fenris gets up and opens her mouth. Celia uses this opportunity to control her blood again and prepare for their attack. The wolf dude doesn't wait, he attacks Fenris, who somehow manages to dodge, and pulls out some judo moves and restrains the guy on the floor. Wolf guy isn't happy about it and tells Jack to blow the apple. Elfine uses her ball to delay the spell, enabling Celia to use her blood and destroy the guy's wand. Sakuya follows up by pinning Elsa against the table, and Fenris summons her ice wolves to freeze the wolf dude. Celia takes this chance to summon her holy sword to attack Jack and finally destroy the apple. However, she has some complaints about how Fenris almost ruined their plan. Everyone quickly gets their devices, but there's no signal, and somehow the atmosphere feels weird. They check through the window and see how close they are to a void reef. Voids start boarding the ship and attack them. Everyone knows their tasks. Elfine and Celia will help the guests get to safety, while Fenris and Sakuya defeat the monsters. Celia suddenly hears Leo's voice, but is confused because she doesn't see him. He explains that he's using the souvenir he gave her to create a telepathy channel with her. He then reveals that Regina is heading to the bridge, but it's too dangerous for her to go alone, so he asks Celia to help her. Meanwhile, Regina is literally surrounded by voids, but Celia manages to arrive and rescue her. The things in the party hall initially calm down, until a powerful void joins the fun. Fenris ice wolves can't do anything to him. Elfine tells them to hold off until help comes, but Sakuya refuses to, claiming she will deal with the big boy. The girls take down the weaker voids and retreat to another room. She then activates her true power, the Dark Plover Demon Sword, turning the monster into ground squid. The other two finally manage to reach the bridge, and Celia says she will cover her back. Regina sits down, accesses the system, and inputs the code given by the princess. It turns out to be the name of the star Regina was born. Alteria never met Regina, but didn't want to ever forget that she had an older sister. In her thoughts, Regina thanks her sister and tries to take control of the ship's system. In the meantime, the princess is almost being taken away on a plane by Sharnak. Alteria notices the chopper managed to turn away and is happy that everyone is safe. Sharnak tries to take off, but somehow the chopper is being pulled down. She suddenly sees the voids guarding the area being wiped out by fireballs. She looks forward and sees a little boy, asking if she thought she could get away. Back on the ship, Elfine and the rest are surrounded by voids. Some kids start to cry, especially because Elfine has no more bullets to fire. One of the girls tells the rest to relax, because Leo will somehow save them. The monster is preparing to attack, but they are suddenly sliced into pieces. It's Sherry, who also gets the chance to get a snack and disappears from the shadows. She simply mentions this is the payment for putting their faith in her master. Meanwhile, Sharnak steps outside and asks who Leo is. He replies that she will pay for the crime of messing with his kingdom, and introduces himself as the Demon Lord. She gets annoyed, calling him just a kid mocking the name of Demon Lord. She uses a fire spell to attack, but Leo easily blocks it, calling it disappointing. Sharnak cannot believe her eyes, mentioning he just used the secret art of the legendary demon lord. Leo confirms it and uses his shadows to restrain her. He questions her objective, to which she replies is to create a demon sword. She then mentions gaining the favor of the goddess, making Leo confused. He claims that gods perished 1,000 years ago, and asks for its name. But swords come out of Sharnak's body. Just when she's about to reveal the goddess's name, Leo is confused because that is the sword of annihilation. Sharnak's body suddenly turns into a big monster, able to summon more voids. He quickly remembers that the gods gave him the sword when he was a hero, to kill demon lords. However, he believed that he destroyed the sword after becoming the demon lord. He attacks it with fire, but the void absorbs the attack instead. The void then suddenly disappears and appears a second later on top of him. Leo manages to dodge but notices the smaller voids are trying to take the princess. He destroys them but enables the huge void to attack him. However, Regina, who's controlling the ship, watches everything on the surveillance camera and activates the defense system. The ship starts shooting the void with not only bullets but also missiles. One of the missiles has Celia inside, who came to help him. More voids are summoned and Leo asks Celia to get him some time. She cuts her own flesh to create some blades and deals with every small void around. Leo uses this chance to pull out his demon sword and uses his strongest attack to vanish the Void Lord away. In the aftermath, all the girls are commended by the princess for their efforts to protect everyone. Then Elteria notices Leo is missing. Celia explains he's recovering from his injuries, and the princess tells her to thank him, along with the girl who can use spirit magic. Meanwhile, Leo is lying on his bed, feeling sore when Regina steps in. She asks how he's feeling, and mentions she prepared some apple pie for him. She mentions she will feed him some, but he rejects it. She then decides to reward him for his effort with a nice kiss. Leo gets embarrassed, and Regina tells him to keep it a secret from Celia. Then we see some guards chasing the demi-humans underground. One of the wolves informs its group that the guards have surrounded the surface. The elf tells them to move underground to the harbor, and from there they will leave the city. As she was talking, the guards surrounded them and said that they were arrested for kidnapping the princess. More officers appear, and the group seems scared. One of the guards tells them to surrender because their power can't face the holy swords. Someone then arrives and he turns the soldiers into stone. The demi-humans ask the person who he is, and the person makes the demi-humans bow to him using magic. He introduces himself as Zal Vadis, a demon lord and the rightful ruler of this world. But from his voice, we can tell that it's Leo disguising himself. He tells the demons that the soldiers are going to depetrify in a matter of minutes, and if they devote themselves to him then he will grant them refuge. The elf girl states that they don't have much choice, and they agree to serve him. Zal then gives them the name Blumasho, and creates a labyrinth for them to take refuge in, and tells them to get ready to take control of the empire. He mentions that the entrance to this labyrinth will be hidden from the humans. Zal's phone then rings, and he notices that it's Celia. She asks him where he is. He notices that the sound is loud, so he hangs up the phone quickly, then laughs and disappears into the shadow. In the meantime, Celia notices some crows outside her window. She thinks that more and more of them are gathering around her lately. She states that Leo warned her that animals in Darkness Domain tend to flock around vampires, and she wonders if there is something he can do about them. Celia then goes to Leo's room, and she notices Sherry there cleaning. Celia rubs her eyes and she notices that she disappeared. Celia then calls Leo to check where he is, and Leo hangs up her phone. Celia thinks that she should hurry up and shower so she can go look for him. Leo then returns to his room and removes his disguise. He thinks that Celia has become too protective of him. She nearly ruined his stately image, but he glad the meeting went well, and he managed to recruit the demi-humans from the organization. He then goes to Celia's room and he notices that she is changing, and he gets embarrassed seeing this. Regina enters upon them suddenly and wonders if she interrupted something. They scream at her that she did not. Shortly after, everyone is having breakfast, and Celia asks Leo to eat vegetables as well. Leo states that he will later. And Regina mentions that there have been a lot of crows around their dorms lately. She wonders if she should chase them away, and Celia says that it would be mean. Regina mentions that due to the crows, the whole academy is already convinced that their dorm is haunted. There is also a huge black dog sulking around their dorm, and a ghost girl shows up sometimes. Celia says that she saw the ghost girl earlier, and she was wearing a maid uniform. Leo mentions that Celia must have imagined it, and he thinks that stupid Shari should be more careful. Celia then asks Leo where he went this morning. He lies and says he was out for solo training for the practice match. Regina states that Fenris' platoon is nothing to worry about, but they spent all of last night coming up with a detailed plan of attack. She hopes that they win and go up a rank. Celia thinks that she has to step up as this is her first match after she got her holy sword. In the practice match, Celia and Leo take out an enemy flag. The audience cheers for Platoon 18, and meanwhile we see that Elfine is scouting out the enemy, and Regina is sniping them to keep them in check, and Sakuya is going into the middle of the field to act as a decoy. Gillian thinks that Platoon 18 has a nice strategy, but if their diversion fails, then it's going to have disastrous results. Celia then encounters Fenris's wolves going ahead, and one of them manages to injure her. Fenris then comes out and she mentions that she had a feeling that Celia would show up here. Celia wonders why a platoon captain is defending his sub-flag. Fenris states that she is here because of their rivalry, and she mentions that she has also sent two of her attackers after their main flag. With Elfine there, it's essentially them against the sniper, and Sakuya is good with swords, but so stupid as she chasing the wolves. Leo thinks that this woman is mean, but she is smart. Fenris then shifts the mode of her holy sword to fight Celia. She asks her platoon mate to take care of Leo. Fenris then attacks Celia, but she manages to block the attack. She punches her again and manages to get a hit, and then binds her to a tree. Meanwhile, Leo defeats the other girl with his shadow magic. Celia can't accept defeat and manages to break through her binding, and takes out Fenris with a sword strike. In the meantime, Elfine and Regina manage to capture the flag, and Platoon 18 wins the match. Gillian thinks that this wouldn't have happened if the 11th platoon had just gone after the main flag. Alto says she still thinks that both platoons aren't completely perfect yet, and the old man says that their imperfection might be the reason people are drawn to them. After a while, Leo is taking a bath with the rest of the girls. Celia is washing him up, and Leo wonders if it's right for him to be here. Elfine says that according to the Academy regulations, children can bathe with their guardians until they are 11 years old, but the king of bone inside Leo has a boner. Regina asks Sakuya if she wants her to wash her back. Sakuya says she is alright, but Regina grabs her hard anyway, and says that her fun bag has gotten bigger, and Leo witnesses all of that, and tries hard to control his stretched stick. Celia then says that they might have won their practice match, but they shouldn't get complacent because if Fenris hadn't focused on her, their team might have lost. Sakuya apologizes for falling into the enemy's trap, and Elfine mentions that it's fine as she did run into the attackers who were after their main flag. Because of this, she defeated them. Regina and Celia agree too. They then stack their hands on each other, and they all promise to better themselves for the next battlefield. Elsewhere, the Void Lord Nephekes, surrounded by demon swords, and wonders who killed Sharnak. He offers the demon swords to something he refers to as a goddess. He says that the goddess is going to awaken soon. We then see a structure like the Assault Garden appearing out of a tear in space. Then we see the 18th platoon on duty at Alto's call. She shows them footage they received from an observation base located 1,000 kiles from here. Elfine says that the base there monitors void territory. Alto mentions that the early detection of stampedes is crucial, so unmanned aircraft patrol the area at all times. Celia then notices that the footage is of the 3rd Assault Garden. It vanished into void territory 6 years ago. Leo thinks that the 3rd Assault Garden is the home of Celia and Regina, and he thought that it was destroyed. Alto then mentions that currently the target is heading towards them, and its power plant was shut down, but it's possible that something caused it to reactivate. Elfine says that it will reach them in 7 days at this rate. Alto mentions that the troublesome factor is that a distress signal was sent out from 2 separate locations. Celia wonders if there are survivors, but Alto says that it might also be an equipment malfunction. She mentions that they can't gather more information with an unmanned aircraft, and she asks them to do a sweep of the city. She says that their mission is to investigate the distress signal and search for survivors, investigate the power plant and navigational system if possible, and shut it down. These tasks must be completed within 72 hours because after that time, the navigational capabilities of the 7th Assault Garden won't allow them to retreat. Elfine then asks Alto why they were chosen for this mission, and she wonders if it is because Celia survived the 3rd Assault Garden incident as the last living member of Duke Crystalia's family. Leo thinks that humans must want a hero, and he thinks that mankind hasn't changed a bit since he was a hero. Alto says that she can't deny that, but she believes in the capabilities of their platoon. Celia mentions that they will give this mission their all, and she tries to ask Alto to remove Leo from the mission as he is just a child, but Leo says that there is no need for this as he is also a part of the 18th platoon. The next day before leaving, Leo tells Blackas and Shari that he noticed the insignia of the Sacred Order in the ruins of a city far from here. Blackas wonders how this can be as everything that happened 1,000 years ago was wiped from history. Leo mentions that it was, and he needs to figure out who was responsible for that. Blackas says that he will keep a watch on Leo's kingdom while he is gone, and Leo asks Shari to accompany him on this mission. Leo then asks what's on Blackas's neck, and Blackas says that this is a gift from Sakuya, and with this he won't be mistaken for a stray dog and kicked out of the campus grounds. Leo then leaves, and while on the ship, Regina lets Leo sleep on her lap and she cleans his ears. This makes Leo fall asleep, and he dreams of the past. In his dream we see that he is polishing his bones, and Rosalia tells him that the time when she is no longer able to remain by Leo's side is approaching. Leo asks her to not joke about this when he has finally created his kingdom, and Rosalia tells him that this isn't a joke. She mentions that she will be reincarnated 1,000 years into the future, and she wonders if Leo will come looking for her when that happens. Leo says that he will track her down if that happens, and Rosalia mentions that she would like Leo to promise her something, but Leo wakes up and wonders why he is sleeping in Celia's lap instead of Regina, and she tells him that they switched. They then land on the third assault garden, and Celia says that she will head to the central garden to investigate the power plant, and she asks the others to pinpoint where the distress signal came from. Elfine says that they should check in with each other every hour, and she mentions that she will also leave one of her drones with them. They then split up, and Leo asks Sherry to accompany Elfine and the others to make sure that they stay safe. After a while, Celia makes a stop and she tells Leo that there used to be a pastry shop here that she frequented, but while she stayed in the shelter and prayed, it was all destroyed. Leo tells her that it's not her fault, but suddenly they detect some void activity, and they are attacked by a beam of light by the thing that Nephekes referred to as the goddess, and the attack traps Celia under a pole. Shortly before, a girl named Arlie, one of the 6 heroes, suddenly appears in the middle of the city. She's surprised this is how the future looks in 1,000 years. She doesn't know why she was sent to this particular period, but knows the goddess would soon be born. She goes on top of a building and looks around the city, unaware of her technology when she sees the helicopter that delivering Leo and the others. Suddenly, Nephekes walks up behind her and explains the technology. He introduces himself as the Void Lord Nephekes. Arlie asks him if he came from the past as well. He tells her something like that, and he also knows she's there to destroy the goddess's vessel. Arlie assumes he's the guardian of the vessel and tries to attack him. However, Nephekes disappears, telling her she'll need to leave as he summons a huge void to keep her company. Meanwhile, the void attacking Celia is about to finish her off, but Leo teleports her underground to safety. He engages the void in a battle of spells, but the void can block low-level magic. Still, Leo says that he will show the void what the real magician looks like. Meanwhile, the girls hear sounds of fighting coming from the direction where Leo and Celia are. Elfine finds out that her drone is gone, and they go to check on them. Meanwhile, Leo deflects the void's attacks and uses a gravity spell to pin down the void, but the void manages to free himself. But this buys enough time for Leo to cast a level 9 spell, and he also attacks with a thunder spell at the same time, and this takes it out. Leo rejoins Celia, telling her he was able to defeat the void. Celia tries to get back on her feet, but Leo tells her not to push herself too much because even with her vampire abilities it will take time for her to heal. Suddenly, people appear behind Celia and Leo thinks they are voids. Celia notices the Duke's crest on their uniforms, and one of them introduces himself as William Richmond. He's the head of the Order of House Crystalia, which is under the command of Celia's father. He tells her though he's a ghost, he hurried to her side to protect her. Leo notes that he hasn't experienced the phenomenon of ghosts dwelling in battle sites in the present day until then. William tells Celia she must have received their distress signal for her to come to the city. She is surprised they were the ones who sent out the distress signal, but William tells her the signal wasn't a call for help but a warning. He tells her history may repeat itself if things are left unchecked because a new Void Lord appeared in the ruined city. He tells her the Void Lord is gathering power from the city's power plant. And Celia tells Leo they need to hurry over there and find proof. Leo tells her she needs to rest, but William offers to give her a ride to the castle in a ghost limo. Leo tells her he doesn't trust ghosts to drive within the speed limit, so he summons skeleton horses which pull the car. Meanwhile, the other three girls bump into Arlie. Regina thinks she's a survivor and tries to check on her, but Sakuya pulls her back when she sees Arlie's sword. Sakuya offers to take care of Arlie, who mistakes the girls for Nephekes's minions. They engage in a sword fight but are evenly matched. Sakuya almost gets a lethal strike with a swift move, but doesn't want to hurt Arlie, so she stops. She tells Arlie she would have won if she was not wounded. Meanwhile, Celia is feeling better, but she asks Leo for some of his body juice. She jumps on him and starts drying him up, but unfortunately Elfine contacts her and asks her about the battle with the Void, and Celia gives her the report. She also tells Elfine that a Void Lord might be hiding in the city and could be tampering with the power plant. Elfine tells her they are treating a survivor, and they decide to regroup at the Crystalia estate. Celia asks for a little more body juice, but Leo presents her with a dress that increases her strength with her vampire mana. He tells her to use it wisely because it will drain her mana rapidly. Celia asks him why he suddenly gave her the dress, and he replies that he doesn't want her to get hurt. He then gives her skeleton chains as good luck charms. Back to the girls, Regina finishes treating Arlie. Elfine asks her why she attacked them as soon as they met, and she tells her she mistook them as allies of the Void Lord. Elfine looks through the Third Garden's database, but she can't find Arlie's name. She asks her where she came from, but Arlie asks them what they are doing in the city. Elfine answers the question, making Arlie realize that humans still have a place in the world after so much time. Elfine then repeats her question, but Arlie simply answers she must complete her task of defeating the goddess. Arlie tries to continue on her own since they are not her enemies, but they stop her from moving alone. Her stomach growls, and Sakuya gives her some snacks. Sherry is watching over the group, wondering what Arlie is doing 1,000 years in the future. Meanwhile, a Void meets Nephekes and reports that one Void was taken down. Nephekes wonders who took down his high-level Void and decides it's time for him to act. Leo and Celia arrive at her home, and Celia is flooded with memories of her past. They walk into the castle and Leo sits on a comfortable chair which reminds him of his throne. Celia goes upstairs and she is flooded with even more memories. She explores the castle grounds and she's eventually moved to tears. The ghosts reconstruct her father's room, and she recalls her father reading her a story about the demon lord and the hero. But suddenly Nephekes's voice snaps her out of her memories. Nephekes tells her he didn't expect to see a young lady there. Celia asks him if he's a survivor, but he is annoyed she mistook him for a human. He starts casting fire magic and attacks her. Leo hears the noise upstairs and runs to check on Celia, who's knocked out. While knocked out, Celia dreams of a past event when her father asks her to get to the shelter with Regina. Celia tells him to come along with her, but he tells her he needs to go and fight to protect the city's people. He tells her that's the duty that has been entrusted to their house. Celia asks if she can join him in the fight, but he tells her they can fight together once she awakens her holy sword. Her father reminds her of the story of the evil demon lord. He tells her that he believes that one day, the evil demon lord will appear and help them defeat the voids. Celia wakes up to find 3 undead standing in front of her. Nephekes thinks that his level 3 magic can defeat a giant, but it's too much to deal with a human. The dust then clears out, and he's shocked to see undead warriors. They tell Celia they will protect her. Nephekes apologizes for mistaking her as a mere human when she can invoke undead soldiers. He decides to test her defensive abilities, but Leo comes out of nowhere and casts a fireball at him, knocking him down. Celia asks him who the undead swordsmen are, and he tells her they were the key chains he gave her earlier. The undead warriors introduce themselves as the 3 heroes of Ragna while striking some Power Ranger poses. They tell Leo to rest easy because they will protect Celia. Nephekes gets back to his feet, telling Leo he would have been done for if he was a mere human. Leo recognizes him and wonders what he is doing in the future. Nephekes launches a fire attack at Leo, but he counters it with ice that restrains Nephekes. Nephekes asks him to identify himself, but Leo tells him to answer his question first. Leo asks him what he's after, but the ground suddenly rumbles. Nephekes laughs and tells Leo the vessel has played her role, and the goddess has come back to life. He tells Leo his services are no longer needed because the world will crumble to the might of the goddess. Leo tries to stop him, but he vanishes away. Leo wonders what Nephekes is doing in the present and if he awoke Rosalia. The symbol of the sacred order is cast into the sky, and the undead warriors tell them they need to evacuate the building. A huge creature appears, and William tells Celia to get to safety. Several void creatures move around as the hymn of the sacred order plays. Leo recognizes the hymn and identifies the creature as the remnant of Saint Tyrus, one of the 6 heroes. Celia reports to the other 3 and they immediately swing into action, leaving Arlie behind with some food. They launch a missile which releases a backup signal. The void creatures swarm around the city as the other 3 decide to meet with Celia. Celia and the undead warriors keep fighting the voids, but the void can regenerate any damage or injury inflicted on them. Regina and Sakuya are having the same trouble with the voids who attack them. Elfine does a scan and tells them the head is the creature's weak spot. Leo tells Celia the same thing, and they can now easily defeat the voids. Saint Tyrus moves towards Leo and Celia. Leo is happy she's saving them the trouble of going to her to bring her down. Celia, Leo, and the undead warriors keep attacking the endless wave of voids. Leo decides to bring an end to the wave of voids and casts a huge magic spell on Tyrus. The spell melts her, but she regenerates. Leo is surprised she withstood such a level 10 spell. She casts a level 11 spell of her own, and Leo puts up a defensive barrier. She releases several magma stones which destroy everything around her. Leo tells Celia he's going to finish off Tyrus and asks her to watch his back. The undead warriors and Celia protect him from the voids, as he jumps and draws out his demon sword. He tries to strike at Tyrus, but the sword starts resonating. Suddenly, Rosalia's voice comes out of Tyrus, asking if he wants to use the sword to kill her. Leo doesn't understand what's going on as the voice tells him he can't use his sword to bring her down. Leo strikes at Tyrus, but the strike is blocked, and she casts a spell that shoots light arrows in every direction. Leo is hit by a light arrow, and is knocked to the ground. Tyrus prepares to cast another spell, but Celia summons the dress Leo gave her, leveling up to the Demon King Girl, and uses blood magic to immobilize Tyrus. The undead warriors protect Leo from the void, and Celia picks him up. Leo remembers promising to find Rosalia if she ever resurrects. He wakes up in Celia's arms and tells her to run for her life. She hugs him and tells her to drink his body juice so she can run. Instead, she pours her mana into him. Leo remembers Rosalia asking him to make a promise. She wants him to kill her if she comes back as something else in the future. Leo refuses, but she urges him to remember and find her real body through the guidance of his demon sword. He's now convinced it was not a dream, but a memory Rosalia sealed away until the right time. Celia is still trying to use her blood to inject mana into Leo's body, but he keeps remembering the moment when Rosalia asks him to kill her with the demon sword if she turns into something different in the future. She tells him that by doing it, he will be able to find her real self, and the demon sword will lead him to his destiny. Leo finally wakes up and realizes that Rosalia had put a seal on his memory to forget his promise to her. However, he refuses to give up and gets up to see Tyrus regenerating. He then promises that he will do anything to find the real Rosalia. He picks up the demon sword again, and Celia asks about his wounds. He explains that he's now fine because she saved him when she used her mana to heal him. He's still confused because he doesn't understand if his memories returned at the right time, or if it's because Celia returned all the blood that she drained him. He then turns to Celia, and he asks her if she can rip part of her dress and give it to him. She complies, and he uses it to fully heal his wounds, but he worries about his low mana. Tyrus then starts getting up, and the two prepare to fight, but they're stopped by William, who also wants to lend his strength. He knows that Leo has a way of using his magic to take their souls and use it as a mana. They feel like they fulfilled their job as knights of Celia's family. Celia asks if he can do it and Leo confirms he can. One of the knights tells him that there are also souls of people who died 6 years ago, and they want revenge, so use them too. Leo looks around and sees several soul orbs. William asks again for their wish to be fulfilled, and Leo promises to fulfill their last wish. He uses the demon sword to cast a spell that absorbs all the souls into an orb. The knights thank him for fulfilling their last request, but Leo explains that he wants to ask for a favor. He wants the knights to help them. He then summons several skeleton knights from the ground, and then merges the knights' souls into these new bodies. William realizes that he can now fulfill his job as a knight. Leo then turns to Celia and explains that he still hasn't recovered enough power to defeat Tyrus. That's why she and the knights must find a way to buy him some time, especially since Tyrus will summon several other voids. Celia tells him to leave it to her and raises her holy sword. She then uses her blood to create several spears for the knights. Every Skull Knight starts getting hyped out to fight. Meanwhile, Elfine finishes making the preparations with her team to fight the Void Lord. They prepare to leave on their bikes, but Arlie stops them. She asks them to take her as she wants to join the fight. Regina mentions that would be stupid because she's still injured. Suddenly, a void comes toward Arlie, but she deletes it with a simple swing. The girls are impressed, and she explains that she's the only strong enough to defeat the Void Lord. She then claims that her holy sword was born to destroy those monsters. Sakuya then comes forward, stating that it would be easier to defeat the Void Lord with her power. She tells Elfine to allow her to join them, and if something goes wrong, Sakuya will find a way to protect the girls. Elfine accepts and they prepare to head out. Back to Celia, she's fighting the voids alongside the soldiers. Every single one is capable of dealing with the monsters. They're trying to give Leo as much time as he needs to recover his power by absorbing the remaining lost souls. However, he feels like it is taking so much time. Meanwhile, the girls are driving to meet Leo and Celia, but they notice the quantity of voids around. Elfine says she will use her power to drive Regina's bike, allowing our oats to attack the flying voids. Regina accepts the orders and summons her cannon to shoot the beasts. One of the voids focuses on Elfine, but Sakuya slices it in half. Celia then tells the knights to move forward while keeping formation. However, she doesn't notice a void attacking her from behind. One of the skeletons defeats the void, while another manages to catch her. She notices she isn't injured, and they explain that it's because she has the Vampire Queen's power. She thinks that's mostly due to her dress, as Leo explained that it would help her control her power. She flies back up to continue the fight, mentioning that she must do everything to protect Leo. The skeletons for some reason also start flying and defeating several voids in midair. That's when you realize that a single skeleton is more powerful than the average student. Celia then notices something on her back. Leo is absorbing a huge quantity of souls, and the ball has become huge. The Void Lord looks at him and starts casting several magic circles. He knows this is bad because he still needs more time to use his full power. Tiras then changes the direction of the magic circle toward them. Leo yells at everyone to run away and take cover. Tiras then activates the magic, launching several magma balls toward them. However, everyone grouped up in pairs, one using magic to create a shield while the other flies them away. Celia asks if Leo is okay, but he explains that he's fine, he just needs a bit more power. Meanwhile, Elfine and the girls watch everything from afar, and she tries to contact Celia. Regina wonders if everything is okay, but Elfine isn't sure. Suddenly, a huge void appears behind them. Regina tries to shoot it down, but it deals no damage. The void activates some power, creating 4 laser beams. But suddenly, a whip catches its arm and thrusts it into a building and destroying it. Turns out it's Sherry, who arrogantly said that he was too weak for the Demon King's servant. Back to the battle, the skeletons are doing their best to defeat as many voids as possible, while Leo is finishing absorbing enough power. He creates a huge ball, and Tiras creates another spell with several magic circles. Leo then slowly starts transferring the ball power into his demon sword, but for some reason, Tiras forgets about her magic circles and decides to pick up a building instead. Since Leo cannot move, Celia combines her Vampire Queen powers with her holy sword to slice it in half. Leo then remembers Rosalia's words and realizes the truth. She asked him to kill the future fake version of her to find the real goddess. He finishes charging the sword with the power of the souls and activates his power. And Tiras activates a divine shield. Leo is surprised by this, but he has no other option but to attack. Meanwhile, the girls are finally getting near Tiras, and Arlie gets up, charging up her attack. Sakuya tells Elfine to get them closer, and everyone prepares to attack at the same time. Sakuya and Regina use their holy swords to open a breach in the barrier, giving Arlie a chance to cast her attack. The attack hits Tiras, who deactivates the barrier. Leo is confused about who is able to do it, but he doesn't have time to wait. He uses all the power that he has been storing and casts it on Tiras. The void's body slowly starts disappearing, and Celia cannot believe her eyes. She remembers her father's words, mentioning that he believed that one day, the Demon Lord would appear to protect humanity from the voids. The voids start disappearing, followed by Tiras. The assault city then stops moving, signaling their victory. In the aftermath, the knight's souls leave the skeleton bodies. William tells her that he is proud to fight alongside Celia in their final moments. Celia then tells them as the last survivor of the family, she will never forget them, and she will keep fighting for them. And before disappearing, William mentions that her family will be proud. The girls arrive, and Celia runs towards Regina's arms. The group is happy to see everyone is safe, and Sakuya explains that Arlie helps them destroy the divine barrier. Some choppers arrive, and Fenris is happy that Celia and the rest are safe. They quickly step inside, and Leo is now sure that Arlie is the one who destroyed it. However, he doesn't understand how a hero from 1,000 years ago is still alive. Celia asks why he looks so worried, but he replies that he's fine. He notices a book in her hands. She explains she found it in her father's study, so she decided to bring it as a memento. However, she cannot understand the language. She mentions that her father could read it, and the book talks about the Demon Lord. Leo is surprised, and she explains the legend of the Demon Lord, mentioning that he was once a hero, and lived in a castle of bones, and rode a skeletal horse, and commanded an army of skeletons, and he also made lightning rain from the sky, and breathed fire from his mouth. Leo's reaction almost gives him off, when he tells her he did not breathe fire from his mouth. And she asks why he's so sure. He tells her it just didn't feel right to him. He thinks that this fairy tale is interesting, although the true legend of the Demon Lord and gods is no longer passed down. These childish tales might be the remains of those times. Celia then says that Leo reminds her of the Demon Lord in the story, and Leo mentions that he doesn't shoot fire from his mouth. He then asks Celia what happens to the Demon Lord in the end, and Celia says that the hero defeats the Demon Lord and everyone lives happily ever after. Leo thinks that this story is trash. After returning, Celia takes a hot bath, and Leo then tells his minions about Nefekes. And Blackus says that he thought that there was something odd about that guy even 1,000 years ago. Leo tells them that the revival of Tiras was all a part of his scheme, and the next time he appears they are going to twist his arm and make him cough up everything. Shari asks Leo to be wary of the elf hero as well, and Leo wonders what she is even doing in this era. He says that for now she has been detained in a room at the airport's medical facility, and he mentions that they must figure out what her objective is. Shari then says that she noticed that Leo granted the true ancestor dress to Celia, and she calls him a dumb demon lord for doing this. Leo gets angry at her, and his minions leave when they hear Celia coming. Leo gets embarrassed to see Celia almost naked, and she mentions that she couldn't wait any longer as the dress left her wiped out. She asks for Leo's permission to drink his fluids out, and Leo allows her, but he asks her to be gentle, and she tells him don't worry, and promises she will restrain herself this time. Afterward, Elfine wonders if the stampede at the 7th Assault Garden, the Hyperion incident, and the reboot of the 3rd Assault Garden are connected, and she thinks that the artificial elementals of the Philae Foundation might shine some light on this. She finds a highly protected file in their database, and we then see Arlie waking up at the medical facility. She thinks that her mission must still be incomplete as she hasn't faded away, and she breaks out of the facility. Everyone hears an alarm following her breakout, and Leo thinks that his kingdom is too rowdy. He says that he will let everyone have their fun until he has claimed effective control of this place, and after he does, he will find Rosalia and expand his kingdom. Sorry fellas, this is the end of season 1 of this anime. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more love. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to let the world know about our love for anime.